Welcome everybody to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top-ranked real estate investing podcasts for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your host for the show, Elliot, the REI guy, Smith.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? We are here today with show 365. So getting in this about 6-7 months in, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more comfortable on the mic. I did put some out a couple of shows ago about filling out some content or asking for feedback from you guys, and the feedback came in really good. We're going to be drawing that winner. So we do have one more week for that. So Dan will have a link in the show notes today, but that was the give some feedback, quick form to fill out, and then pick the winner, where we're going to do a one hour coaching call live on the show. Well, not live, we'll record it and then put it on the show. And then I'm also going to do some listen to some of your calls and give you feedback on some of the calls. So what's going on with us this week? So this week was really good. I interviewed two guys that I think you guys are really going to like, both with BP. But one of them is a producer of all the BP shows that we became buddies with. It's helping us a little bit with our show. And we're helping him with real estate. And the other is the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Turner. So we did him yesterday. We ended up talking for like 2.5 hours. The first 40 minutes, we were just talking, shooting the shit. And then I'm like, man, we should probably hit record at some point and actually do the show. So really good show. Really enjoyed it. And so I think you guys are going to like those. So those will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So today we have David Dodge. David Dodge is out St. Louis, Missouri, and he is doing a lot of volume in St. Louis, Missouri. So we dive into a lot of his marketing techniques, how his team's set up, what they're doing to get deals, how they're dispoing, and his philosophy on keeping rentals and building long-term wealth. So really excited, really enjoyed talking to him. He does have some good content that he puts out on Instagram and some other sources, and has some books that he wrote. So I think he knows what he's talking about. And I think if you're looking to get into some wholesaling and learn how to build a team, this is a good show to listen to right here. So what's going on in our world, in our real estate world? We sent out some dollar bill mailers. We ordered some new mailers. They're brand new from Open Letter Marketing. They're their auto pen handwritten letters, and they look fantastic. I'm going to show, I know if you're listening, you're not going to see this, but here's one of the ones we sent out. Looks like this, auto pen. We had the card in there, the stock card that has auto pen written. We threw a dollar bill in there. This was for my development leads. So these are really good for like highly qualified leads. So we sent out we got 1,000 of them, and we were sending out 250 a week. My response rate this week was a little bit less than the first week. The first week, my response rate was 9.5%. And then this week we're down. I think I've probably 4% or something like that. But still, I mean, with the other mailers last year that I was sending out, I was getting 0.02%. So really going in, looking at a lot of development opportunities. We had closed on that 13-unit property that we're tearing down, that house, that half acre here in Richland. And we're going to be starting to do work on that. We're going to tear the house down here pretty soon, put that on Instagram. And really looking at a lot of opportunities. We got through, the appraisal hasn't come back on our 25 unit yet. We got the engineering report all clear on that, so we don't have any issues there. So just trying to get that one to the closing table. I'm supposed to close at the end of the month, so we'll see if we can make that. We're pushing that hard. So yeah, that is working really well. I've been taking those calls, so I'm going to be posting, those will be for the future, but I'll be posting some of those calls on this show here soon. Those leads, I talk about talking to sellers and things like that. Those leads, I tend to talk a little bit more. So most of those calls are averaging me probably 15 to 25 minutes if it's a good lead and we've made some offers. But the really cool thing was, when you talk to people that long and you're asking questions. So I had this call yesterday with this guy, really nice man, retired physician. But we were talking about life and things that had nothing to do with the real estate that we were talking, he called on. And then when we were got towards the end of the conversation, I made something about like, what's his options or selling this or things like that. And he's like, well, I would carry it, but I need to sell half because I'm getting divorced. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the more you talk with people, the more they open up and give you. So you have to get really good at figuring out, like, because you don't want to do that with every lead that you have, because you're just going to end up wasting time. So you have to really qualify like the leads early on. Like, is this something that I think I can put a deal together and something I want to buy? And so that was where I come in with, you know, on the house side is, you know, if your house is fully fixed up, new roof, new kitchen, bathroom, siding, things like that, best bet's the retail market. And if it needs some work, needs, you know, updating on all those things, then we can get the work done a lot cheaper because we have in-house contractors and you can actually probably net more money. So that's my spiel when somebody calls in off a, you know, house mailer. And right there, I'm on the phone for a minute and a half. They'll tell me which bucket they fit in. And if it's the first bucket, I say, can I refer you to a realtor? No, it doesn't work out. I'm off the phone. The second bucket, they put themselves and said that they are a good fit for my business. Then I would spend more time with them on the phone. So really spending time with people, like building that conversation and talking about things outside of real estate is so important, because then they start opening up to you because you're a normal person and you're sharing your stuff. So anyway, so really enjoying that. Tony's been doing most of my acquisition stuff and he's killing it, doing really good. And it was so nice to get that off my plate. And that was like the thing I was holding on to the most. And I didn't want to get rid of that because I'm like, I'm the best. Tony's actually going to be way better than me, I think. You guys have listened to him a little bit on the show, calls that he's done before. So really happy to have him on the team. Easy Button Leads, we're transferring. That's our, so we have Call Magic, and then we have Easy Button Leads, which is our lead delivery and data platform that kind of pairs well with the call center. So we were beta testing because we were having issues with, like, everybody had a different CRM and getting the leads to them, or the emailing leads, or this data was getting missing, this CRM and all those things. So we created this lead delivery platform. We beta tested it for the last month. Works really well. It's still version 1, so it's going to get a lot better, but we're transitioning everybody over to Easy Button Leads here in the next 2 weeks. And so really excited to get everybody on that consistent platform. So that's been what we've been spending a lot of time and money in with developers. So crazy stuff. On a personal note, most of you know, or you should know, that I love to golf. Golfing is my passion. I grew up playing. For the first 3 years, kind of after Christy and I quit our jobs, I was playing 150 rounds a year, playing in state tournaments. I finally won my first golf tournament a couple of years ago. It was the club championship. Love golf. So we've got Monty these little plastic golf clubs and things, and just he's hitting the balls around the house since he's been 1 or whatever. But now I've been taking him to the golf course with me. I took him last year. I've always taken him, but like last year wasn't like, he wasn't excited about it. I mean, he was still going and had fun, but now every single day when if I wake him up, the first thing out of his mouth is go to the golf course, go golf course. When I get home from work, go to the golf course, go to the golf course. The other night I said, I got home a little late. It's like 5:45 and he's like, go to the golf course. And Christy goes to the gym. So it's my turn to watch, I watch him in the evenings. And I'm like, buddy, it's kind of late. Like, let's just stay home. He's like, no, I want to go to the golf course. Started whining. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And I thought in my head, I have wanted this for my entire life. Like, I'm not going to say no to have my son want to go to the golf course. So I'm trying to make it so fun for him where it's like, there's no pressure. He can hit the ball. He can roll around in the sand. He can drive the golf cart, whatever. It's fun. He doesn't get in trouble for anything. He's not allowed to say sorry unless he's not listening for safety stuff. So I post that stuff on my Instagram, some of his golf swings. So if you're interested in that, you can go follow along there. Elliott Smith at Elliott Smith REI. So it's just really cool. But the one thing I'm really focusing on is my dad was a really good dad, but we always had to do what he wanted to do. So it was never like, Elliott, what do you want to do today? It's like more like we had to do activities that he wanted to do, whether it was skiing, hunting, fishing, kayaking, whatever. It was always, and then I just went with him and did it. And it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed hanging out with my dad. We did a lot of stuff, but I really want to let Monty pick what he wants to do. And so that's really what my focus is going to be this next year is like, if you want to go golfing, great, that's fine. If you want to go do ballet, maybe he's not going to do ballet right now, but you get the idea, then we'll go do that. Right. So I want him to experience a lot of different things. And I don't want him to feel like spending time with me is based on what I want to do, or it's not spending time with me. So I want him to make those choices and enjoy and try tons of different things. So It's hard to do. I mean, any of you dads out there or moms know that it's, it's hard to sit with a 2-year-old while we're playing with silly toys or whatever it is. So, but really enjoying the age that he's at. And I think we might start trying to have another one here soon. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy the show. I really enjoyed talking with David today. Go ahead and give him a like on Instagram. And here's our show sponsor for the week. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right, Real Dealz podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Iron Bridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Iron Bridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Iron Bridge for a very long time. I've personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Iron Bridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? I got a guy that I met randomly on Instagram. I'm like, this guy's got like 100K followers. His name David Dodge. And I'm like, he's wrote some books. He's got some stuff he's selling out there and free content on YouTube. I watched some of his cold calling and I'm like, this guy is like me. And so I slid in his DMs. I'm not very good at that, but it worked this time. And so, you got you on the show and I'm excited to have you here. After talking, I think we know a lot of the same people and probably you've been on the show before. So welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, welcome. Or thanks for having me, Elliot. It's good to be here, man. And I love responding to people on Instagram. So just like you, reach out. That's what's up.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I don't know. I just got into the Instagram world and like, I'm getting hit up and like, I like responding to people too. I'll have full conversations, send them video or audio messages back, try to point them in the right direction. But I'm guessing like, how are you getting hit up a lot? Like with that many followers or like, maybe talk about that.
quite a few, but it's a good thing. It's like, it allows me to help a lot of people. It really does. Right.
Cool. That's awesome.
So I help them with sending them videos of stuff that I've done, help them with sending them links to software that I use, and then training, like all that type of stuff. So, I love it. And it gives me the ability to help more people, man. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, cool. Cause you can help people for free on Instagram. And then if they want to dive a little bit deeper, you got some stuff, you wrote some books and you got a course that you.
Great. Yeah. And I'm never really pushing any of that on anybody, but
yeah, that's why I love it. Cause I follow these other guys and they're like, Mike, buy my course, buy this, this and this, and their TikToks and these things. And you're like, here's normal life. This is what I do. Cool.
That's kind of how I try to do it, man. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Social media does pay me money to have following and do certain things, but I just look at that as icing on the cake. I don't ever try to lead with that. I don't wake up thinking, all right, how do I make more money? It's like, you know what? That comes when you provide value to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really a beautiful thing. So the more I'm able to help people and genuinely care about it, the more that it'll pay me in return. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. All right. So where are you from? I don't know anything that much about you. What market are you in?
Lightning round, St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. Now, I have some buddies over there. Philip Vincent. Philip?
Yeah, he doesn't live here no more. He just moved to Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
I know Phil really well. Good guy.
He's moving with mom's house. In mom's house deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's in our DFA group. All right. So how many deals? How long have you been doing this? Maybe just give a quick rundown of what you've been.
Yeah, I've been investing in real estate 15 years. Did it wrong the first 10 years. The last 5 years, I've been full time. Done about 650, maybe even 700 wholesale deals. Already bought and sold over 100 houses this year. have 50 rental units. Currently had about 150 this time last year, but I sold a bunch off to reconsolidate debt, buy a partner out, and start from scratch. Love the Burr Method. 2 books are The Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate and the Burr Method.
Nice.
Very simple. I have a 3rd book. You can find that on my website, Discount Property Investor. That's also the name of my podcast. It's hosted there as well. And that one's called The 3 Pillars of Wholesaling. Very, very simple, free. Check it out.
Awesome. All right. So I always struggle with this because you hear these shows and people are doing a ton of deals, or they're not doing a ton of deals and they're making a huge margin. So let's break it down. You've done 650, 700 deals. And so 100 deals this year. What does your team look like? What does your margin look like on deals? Because there's different type of market, right? There's a high volume market and there's a high profit margin market. And you're more in a high volume market, right?
We're not in the high profit margin market, right? At all. Love it. So, in marketing, we probably have to spend on average about $2,000 to get a deal, give or take.
Cheap.
Obviously it can come in waves and so on and so forth, but we have 6 years of data. So what that tells us is it takes us about $2,000 of marketing to get a deal. The average deal in our market's wholesale deals about $8,000. So we're netting 6 when it's all said and done. But if we can do, 3 or 4 or 5 of these a month, that's great. Recently, we've been doing, 8 to 10 a month for probably the last 3 years, right? I say recently.
You're $8,000, you're $2,000 in marketing, and then you got, what's your overhead for your team? Do you have a team? Like how much of that $8,000 after you take the marketing away, how much of that is actually usually net?
I would say we probably have another $1,000 in overhead, a little less than that, but that's including all the CRMs, that's including the people on the acquisition side. That's that's people on the disposition side, virtual assistants. Okay, yeah, so good point. That comes right off the top, $1,000, give or take, maybe even a little less, right? Because we're doing 8 or 10 a month on average, maybe more like 500, right, per lead. So what we're doing to get leads, what our team looks like is 3 cold callers and a cold calling manager. She also manages for other people, has an agency, of course, but she monitors them. So I have 3 people at 20 hours a week. That's 60 hours of cold calling. I have another VA that does my cold texting, usually does it for anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a day.
How many texts are you sending out a day?
It just varies. I mean, on average, probably 1,500 to 2,000. We're not doing anything too crazy, but it's very consistent.
Yeah.
5 days a week for the last 2 years we've been doing this, right? So he does that for, 3 to 5 hours a day. He's also answering inbounds from other marketing and doing follow-up on leads as well. His job is, it'll come in waves because we'll have lots of follow-up sometimes, right? But he's doing that. We also have an acquisitions manager who's kind of, he's a local guy, and he works a lot of the appointments. I also work a lot of the appointments because I'm doing my marketing, Elliot, for a rental and a flip, really. And so basically we keep the best, right? And we wholesale the rest. So I actually like running appointments. And that's something that, yeah, me too, man. That's funny because some people like outsource that first. And to me, I've outsourced like everything but that.
Yeah, me too.
Like I manage my team, of course. I lead. I make sure we have leads by leading. It's very simple. Make sure people are getting paid. But then, I want them to do everything else but the appointment. I like doing those if I can. I got another guy that does it. And then my partner, Mike, he will also do it as well. And then we have a girl that does dispositions, and she's been with us for several years. And that's just so systematized at this point. We also have a product called Let's Co-Wholesale, and we offer other investors in our market the ability for us to help them find the buyer and handle the entire closing process. In exchange, we charge 40%. And, we probably do 15 or 20 deals a year just from helping other investors with our efforts. So we've systematized that whole process. And what else? Let's see here. We have 2 virtual assistants for social media that help us with just, editing podcasts and posting and stuff like that. And I have another virtual assistant that I literally just give random tasks to. Here's a spreadsheet, clean it up.
Yeah.
Go do this, go do that. So we have I
have a virtual assistant that listens to all my phone calls and then goes and makes notes in my CRM for me because I don't want to go make notes. And
I love it.
Literally,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what keeps people out of the CRM is they don't like doing that. So,
yeah.
and it's important. So, wow, I love that. So I love virtual assistants. We have a pretty good team. We also have a closing coordinator. So the closing coordinator is the only person that's really on salary. Everybody else works on, I should say local works on commissions. And then the VAs are just paid weekly, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a good sized team. We do a lot of deals. The average deal is about $8,000. Again, 2,000 is coming off the top for the lead. Another 500 to 1,000 is coming off for the overhead. So again, it's a value market. But here's the coolest part. My passion is not really wholesaling. Like I love it. I'm passionate about it. Of course, I wrote a book on it, right? The Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate. But really my passion is passive income and cash flow. So all these wholesale deals that we're doing them because they're not good rentals for us, or they don't make for good, fun, easy fix and flips.
Yep.
Right. So it's just extra. So we wholesale everything that we don't want. So we keep the best. We cherry pick them. Of course we do.
Yeah.
That's what the marketing is for, right? We cherry pick those deals.
And then people are like, well, just flip those, make all this money. But I had a good friend of mine we recorded a show and then it got lost in the drive. It was our first one in our new studio and, it didn't work very well. But anyway, so he had been buying at the auctions for like 25 years. And how people are always like, oh, I'll buy it as a flip. And if it doesn't work out, I'll turn it into a rental. He's like, no, that's the worst thing you can do.
Never pivot. Never pivot.
The worst deals I flip out and I, fix and flip them, sell them and, take my 15, 10, whatever grand I make and then the really good ones, I keep them as rentals because I have all this equity that I'm not paying taxes on. And so that's kind of where we pivoted last year was like, or 2 years ago was like, yeah, we're going to keep the best ones as rentals and build our net worth. And our net worth has gone.
Yeah, I know it's going to go through the roof. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. The rental property business is my passion. Wholesaling is really just a means to an end. It's a way to find off-market deals and get me direct to seller, for those opportunities that we're wanting to do. So here's the cool thing. Just because our average deal is only $8,000 doesn't mean that we can't do $20,000 deals. In fact, I got one pending right now, or $60,000 deals or $100,000 deals. In fact, the biggest deal we closed this month, literally it was about 2 weeks ago, and we net profited $310,000 off a wholesale. Nice. It was a $4.5 million package. And we basically sold it for $5 million. And we had gross profits of $460,000, right? With this wholesale. But of course, we had to pay transactional lenders and we had to pay partners for bringing in buyers and everybody gets a cut.
Was it like a big package of singles or doubles and houses or what was it?
Yeah. So I actually have it right here. It's going to be really hard to see, of course, but I'll show you. I mean, it was 41 houses. It's a whole spreadsheet.
Oh, gotcha. There you go.
41 houses, a 30 unit, a 10 unit, 6 duplexes, 3 vacant lots, a 6 family and a 4 family. So
nice. How do you land that deal?
It was a broker in town who has been following me online, right? But we also know each other. We've been friends for a while. And he sees that I typically buy about 100 houses a year. It's kind of what I've been averaging for the last 3 years. And he just called me up and he's like, hey, I got 100 houses for sale. And he's like, you do this in a year. Why don't you just try to do it in 3 or 4 months or whatever? Let's get it done. And he was like, basically kind of pushing me to take a little bit of risk and like give it a shot. And he saw value in it and he knew I would see value in it.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is, we put up to do this deal. We put up 50 grand refundable, found a buyer, actually 3 buyers to get the whole thing sold, and then had them put up 100,000 non-refundable whenever we needed our extra 50 and pulled it out. Okay. So we essentially did this deal with none of our own money, right? Like that was hard and risked, right? It was all refundable where we were able to get it back.
But you also did this with 15 years of knowledge.
Right? I did. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not just
No. So here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Elliot, I'm not saying this to brag. What I'm saying this is, here's what people leave out. So I had a bigger vision for this story. is can you flip houses with little to no money? Well, yes, absolutely. I just did a $4.5 million package that I sold for $5 million, right? With none of my own money.
Yeah.
But here's the catch, right? Here's what people don't tell you. The leads cost you time and money, both, every single time. Time and money. So if you want to get good at the real estate investing gig, folks, learn how to become an expert at marketing.
Yep.
And marketing will give you the opportunity to buy at a discount. Hence the name of my podcast, Discount Property Investor. Yeah. I do not buy properties without buying them at a discount, right? Learn the marketing. This is a marketing business. And then you can cherry pick the ones you want and do what your passion is. If it's fix and flipping or landlording, and everything else just becomes a wholesale deal. It's incredibly simple.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. It's very simple, and you don't have a ton of money. You go out there, drive for dollars, cold call for a couple hours of your day, start talking to people yourself, start learning how to talk to people, and then you can make, get a little bit more and bigger. And
what's the average earnest money that you put down on your deals, Elliot?
10,000.
Okay. Now is that,
I do it because I have so much competition that I go in, when I'm buying a deal, like I'll go in 10,000 non-refundable, no inspections, no assignments on a lot of them, because I don't sign a ton of them. And if I do, I already have my buyer lined out because I don't have a couple.
What market are you in?
I'm in Eastern Washington, Tri-Cities, and then Vancouver, Washington, which is Portland, just north of Portland, Oregon.
Got it. Okay. I've been to Portland. It's very nice. Okay. So, in my market, we put down $100 on a wholesale deal, usually for earnest money.
Yeah. So crazy.
It's crazy, right? So we can flip a house that's $600,000-700,000 with $100, assuming the seller doesn't have a problem with it. But if they're motivated, which is what we're looking for, they don't typically give a shit about anything other than getting their money quickly, right? That's really what it comes down to. So,
yeah, and really quick,
marketing.
And you can have this happen. So there was a kid in my market that a couple of years ago. I haven't heard a ton from him lately, but his first person he ran across had like a 25 house package, and he just sold them all off, kind of like an agent, but he was just like wholesaling them off. And he literally, he started out and he had like 20. So first lead that he gets, he's working, she's got 25 houses. He wholesaled 25 of them. And it's like, well, he didn't know anything. He didn't have that much money, but it's
so my first deal was a guy that had 3, and I'd sold all 3 of him.
Yeah. You got to have your line in the water though, to go get them. So you need to be out there doing those things. So,
and that's the thing. Right.
Now, do you think that you like doing the more transactions? Do you like the type of market you're in? Would you rather be in a more higher profit margin market, or what's your thoughts on that?
My business is pretty automated at this point, so I like the market because I know it really well. I was born and raised in St. Louis. I'm here right now today doing this podcast. I was up to 150 units. I'm going to get right back there within the next 1 to 2 years, and I really want to get it up to maybe 200 or 300 units. And then, go to another area that I can do that all over again. But this is such a great market because you can buy a property here that's in really good condition, for 60 to 80 grand, put 10,000 into it and rent it out for $1,200.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me. So,
so we're at like 1.2 to 1.5 in good areas. Terrible areas, of course, you're going to be 2%, but you don't really care to own that, right? So, but you can be in a really good area at 1.2, 1.3 here with with the gross rent multiplier to 1% rule, essentially.
I've never understood that though. I've never understood those Midwest markets where you can get so much cash flow. Is it just because you're lacking in appreciation? Are you seeing appreciation now? Like, what? Let's dive in.
You're still seeing appreciation in these areas. It's not going to be as much. So, like, I just did this last week with Mitch Stephen on my podcast. St. Louis City was appreciating at 15% within the 1 year. And the county was 9.7. And some of the other markets around town, Phoenix was 18%. New York was 3. San Francisco was -2. Dallas, Houston, and Austin were all between 10 and 14%. So, we're seeing good appreciation.
But historically though, that those markets haven't seen that. That's why you're still buying houses for 60 to 80 grand.
Yes and no, man. These houses in 2008 were worth a little less than they are now. Right.
Okay.
And then, in 2010 and 11, they were worth about 40% less. So they definitely fluctuate. Absolutely.
Now explain to me, because I have buddies like in turnkey space that do this. I'm really, there's a lot of people that are listening that they hear this thing, they want to get cash flow, but they work a job, right? And they're like, oh, I can go buy a house from a turnkey provider in the Midwest and I get all this rent. but let's maybe explain like, why is it so much different price point wise? Why are you still able to buy a house for 68 grand? I can't even build a house for 60, 80 grand. Maybe explain that of why your market, the Midwest stuff is like the way it is and what your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, my thoughts are supply and demand. So if there is a higher demand for the property, then it's going to be worth more. So the demand isn't that high. We're out in the Midwest. There's plenty of room to stretch out.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're at, properties, I don't know, and up in North Washington area, the values could be 10x there.
Yeah.
But like the average home value in St. Louis is like 150K. It's not 500,000. Right. That's the average. So like we can pick up a house for 30 grand and turn around and sell it for 50. Like it's not that crazy to do that. You just got to get a good deal on it, of course, So I don't know the exact reasons, but I think it's supply and demand, man. I really do.
Gotcha.
It's if the ocean were to raise 10 feet, this property is going to be worth a shit ton. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know though, because all those global warming guys, they all have houses on the beach, so I don't think they're that worried.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about it either, but it's always a bonus, just like the appreciation, in my opinion. We never buy for appreciation. We buy for cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And appreciation is just kind of icing on the cake, just like the depreciation, right? That's icing on the cake at the end of the year when tax time comes,
Yeah,
So
let's talk about that a little bit, because I knew about depreciation and cost segregation, and I just learned that we can do this on all our single families and take a lot of the money off. And I think I might be able to actually go back and get all the money I paid the government in the last 5 years with how many units we bought we have 41 doors now. And so why don't you talk about the depreciation factor that you look at when you're against income and why it's different from real estate professionals to non-real estate professionals?
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're a real estate professional or not. If you have a property that's rented out, it's considered passive income that comes in. So like basically the IRS defines income in like 5 different buckets. And the majority of people work for the earned income, which means they trade their time for money, right? You have like dividend income, and you have capital gains income, and you have passive income, which is essentially how real estate is paid out, right? So when you own a piece of real estate, that's a rental property. So it's an investment, right? And you might be able to do this on second and third homes. I don't believe you can do it on your primary. I have an accountant that I paid 19 grand to, or at least I did last year, and does all this for me. So obviously she's the master. She knows all of it, has it all pulled in from every account and does it right. But by me paying her almost 20 grand a year, it saves me 50. So it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
But basically with a single family property, you can take the amount that you paid for it, and you can divide that by 27 and a half. So basically you can depreciate the property out over 27 and a half years. And every year that you do this and you depreciate it, your cost basis drops. So you buy a property at 100,000, and I don't know the exact number, but let's say 27.5% of that is, what is that, 2 grand?
I'll do it real quick. Hold on 1 second. I got my calculator. I love doing the math on this stuff. We do this all the time. Divided by 27.5. So 3,600.
Okay, so that number's fixed, by the way. So every year you own it.
Yeah, it's what you paid for. It's your cost basis of what you paid for the property.
Right. So that number's fixed because the purchase price is the purchase price, right?
Yeah.
So then you can depreciate that. So it's, what was that number? 2,600?
3,600. 3,600.
So every year you take $3,600 off of all the other income, which is really cool. All these incomes are the same at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
They come in differently, but they're income. Income is income. You can offset the income with the depreciation. It's basically a phantom expense.
Yep.
But you don't have to pay it, right? So you have 10 of these examples. It's no longer 3,600, it's 36,000 coming off of the money. So if you made 100 grand, instead of paying taxes on 100 grand, you have to pay taxes on 100 grand minus that 36,000.
Yep.
So that's why I want to own 100 of them, because then I can go make 500 grand a year and not pay $1 in taxes.
So what you can also do though,
that's the beautiful thing about it. Now, but here's the disadvantage. The cost basis is adjusted. So year one, it's worth 100,000, or you pay your taxes, it's worth 3,600 less.
Yep.
Right. Year two, it's worth 3,600 less too. So double that together, that's 72, right? Give or take.
Yeah.
So when you go to sell it, let's say that you sell it and you make 10 grand, right? you're not just paying the capital gains now on the 100 to the 110, the 10,000 profit. You've depreciated that. So that has to come back somewhere, right?
They're going to get their money.
So now you're paying taxes from the difference of the new cost basis, which would be, 94,000 or 93,000 at this point, up to that 110. So you pay for it later, but then there's this other loophole called 1031s. And we're not going to get into that, of course, today, Elliot, but you can essentially kick this ball down the road forever and ever and ever with the power of real estate. Another one of my favorite tools is refinancing a property you just fixed up and getting more money than you owe and walking away. And that money is tax-free because it's not income. Instead, it's debt. So learn the tax code. If you learn the tax code, you will be at such an advantage to everybody else. And if you choose real estate, it's just one of those ways that offers so many loopholes, guys. Such an amazing way.
And it's not even a loophole. It's that, they need to keep selling real estate. So they have these tax advantages to keep the economy moving with real estate.
Well, they do it to incentivize landowners because you have property taxes and you have insurance and you have to maintain these properties and you have to deal with the inspectors and code violations and HOAs. And they know that, right? They know that. So they incentivize you to buy properties, especially ones that you can rent out and provide safe housing to other people. Of course, they're going to incentivize you for that.
Trade, die. That's what they say. That's the rule. So what I've also found out, which I'm not sure. So in Trump's tax code, when their new tax thing, you can actually cost segregate your single family properties. Now you can't write off the whole thing in 1 year, but you can write off you
can accelerate it.
You can accelerate that. So instead of 27 and a half years, so what we're actually looking at doing with all our properties that we bought last year and the other ones we own is we're going to accelerate. So a lot of those, like half the property value, we can accelerate it and take all the depreciation in 1 year, which then we can go back. And that's like, I can show a massive loss this year and then go back the last 5 years and carry those losses back and get money that I paid to the government in taxes already.
You can still do that without even doing it without even doing it all in 1 year, just by going back and redoing it the way it should have been done.
Yeah, well, we've always depreciated, but
we've already depreciated.
We can take a larger depreciation back, right?
Right.
Now, again, like you said, that has to be paid at some time. So I'm taking all that money and I'm for 27 and a half years and putting it in a closer time frame. But then I would trade, and you right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you could just pay the taxes later too, which is totally fine.
Yeah. So
absolutely. So one of the things about this business though that is often overlooked is like, there's good debt and there's bad debt. And I actually just paid off all of my bad debt over the last.
What was your bad debt?
I had about 800 grand.
What was it consisted of?
Line of credit, debt, credit cards, random things to get my portfolio to 150 grand. That was outside of mortgages.
Gotcha.
Right. And then I'm back down to 50 units at this point, but I have zero bad debt. All of it's good debt. Right. And the cool thing about, the current day and time that we live in is where government's printing money like crazy, right? Yeah. So inflation isn't here, but it's coming. Guys, it's coming.
It is here. If you actually look at the CPI, I looked at the CPI index. The reason it's bringing it down is the transportation, the flights, the cruise, all these things that nobody's doing is that they're down like 15, 20% or whatever. And then you see milk and all this other stuff. It's like 7, 8, 9%. It's like, it's here as soon as people start traveling.
It's here, guys. So check this out. If you have a long-term play like I do, like I want to own hundreds of houses, right? I already have, right? I'm going to own hundreds of houses. This is how I think. I speak in the present of my future vision. And when you have all these houses and you have a 20-year play like I do or longer, right? And I buy a property at 80 grand or 250 grand, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It could be 600 grand in your market, right? But all of a sudden, the values go up like crazy, because of the inflation, but also the amount that you have to pay back is fixed, right? So value is going up is relative because if you sell that, you're going to have to go pay that somewhere else. But what's not relative is that fixed number that doesn't move, and that's what you owe, right? So if you're able to earn more later, then in theory, it should be easier to pay back the fixed debt. And when I say earn more, I'm not saying go trade more time. I'm saying up the rent. Over 10 years or 5 years, you're going to be able to get that rent up 20 or 30%. Which is amazing. And the amount of the debt is fixed. So some people won't necessarily go out and say this, Elliot. I will, but I am in a hurry to get into a bunch of good debt.
Yep. I'm looking at debt as
I'm in a hurry. I want to have $30 million of good debt. Why not? You know,
the debt right now is an asset to a certain extent, as long as you're capitalized to be able
that is an asset. Yes, it is.
If
you treat it right.
If you treat it right and you can weather the storm. So like if I have $3 million in debt right now, more. And so, but how long can I cover that if say everybody stopped paying, which is highly unlikely, but how long can you cover? So it's really an asset if you can cover those, those burdens for 6, 9, 12 months. But
I probably got about 5 million, which is great though. I love it.
And I just refied. I don't know if you did any loans this year, but we refied 7 singles and doubles this year. That we have our safety net properties, which is 8 singles and 6 singles and 2 doubles. It's like we didn't pull a ton of cash out, but we did rate and term refis, and we got anywhere from 2.6 to 3%. One of them was a cash out on a duplex burr. We pulled all our cash out, but we got 3.25% on a burr, and it's just like this so stupid. And we just had a turnover in one of our rentals that we were charging like $10.50 a month.
Are you doing commercial loans through an LLC?
Those are all just my Fannie and Freddie on my 10 Fannie and Freddie on those ones. I
didn't even max that out, man. I just went straight to commercial because I wanted to build my lines of credit with my banks. And at this point, it's just easy, man. Bank money's so easy to get. Once you get a couple of them rolling, you build that relationship.
Yeah, and we're doing a Freddie loan for a 25 unit right now, a 2.1 purchase, so $1.6 million loan or whatever. And that debt's easy to get. That's so much easier. Like they're like, is your net worth equal to the loan amount? Great. Then it's all the property. And it's like you can literally, I can get $500,000 and put in my bank account, and then it's seasoned for one day. They don't even have to have it seasoned. And it's 3.88%, 30-year AM, 10-year debt. Or 10-year term, and then 2 years IO. And it's just like, it's stupid.
It's awesome. Yep.
So, all right.
So, take advantage of that stuff right now, though. This is great. We're not going to have this forever by any means. We're also not going to have this low of inventory forever too. Things move and they pivot and markets change. So definitely have the ability to be able to pivot if needed.
So I just did a series, a couple of shows, and it was because there's a lot of people out there that want to invest in real estate, and they might really like their job, right? There's nothing wrong with having a job you like, a good W-2. There's nothing wrong with that. So everybody, thinks the dream is to quit your job and go full-time real estate. So, but the series was how to make $100,000 a year on the side. On the first one, wholesaling properties while working a full-time job, and then the second one was how to make $100,000 a year buying rentals while working a full-time job. So I want to kind of maybe get your take if you're talking to somebody and they want to make $100,000 a year part-time wholesaling properties while they work a full-time job. And just say they're working 40 hours a week.
Okay, how would they? What approaches
would you do if you're working a job and you're in St. Louis and you want to make an extra $100,000 a year and still work your full-time job and have a kid? You have your kids and family. You could put 10 to 15 hours a week in this. What would you do?
Yeah, so I would do a lot of driving for dollars instead of watching TV, because everybody watches hours and hours and hours of TV. So just cut that shit out right now. Go do some driving for dollars whenever you got downtime. I would hire probably a cold caller to just work through lists, buy lists, skip trace those lists, have them work through those lists. I would try to run as many of those appointments as I could, but I would also partner with somebody in town that was super experienced. Because it's just like hiring a coach without having to pay them. Bring them value. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm going to spend $2,000 a month on marketing, and I want you to help me work those leads in my city, I'd be like, cool. Like, I'm going to split that deal with you too. And they'd be like, cool. But it would get deals done, would it not? Yes, it would. Those guys know everybody, just like I know a lot of people in my town now, right? So I'd partner with somebody and I would send them leads. I'd work some of those leads. I'd work them together with them. Sometimes I would learn from their moves, right? And their network and their lending abilities and, all of that, their buyers lists. And then from there, I would probably try to hire a acquisitions person at some point to start doing more of those on my own. But I would try to partner with somebody right out the gate, because that would slow your learning curve down from trying to take 6 months to get a deal to like 6 weeks. Like my team's doing 1 or 2 deals a week at this point, sometimes 3, and it's not because we're like extra good at this business. It's because we do a lot of marketing. We have people that do a lot of following up, right? And we run as many appointments and make as many offers as we can. If you want to make more money in the real estate business, make more offers.
Yeah.
And
And
I
also
guarantee
knowing
you,
values.
it's that simple. It's that simple.
What are your thought on knowing values? Like, I think a lot of people get in here and they don't know values. Like, they go off Zillow or Redfin or whatever, and they don't know values. And so what's your, talk about that, understanding values and where the value is in these properties that people might not see if they're brand new.
Yeah. So here's what I would suggest. Don't overthink the values part of it. And I think a lot of people, they never really get going because they think that that's such a big deal or part of this business. So what we do is we will pull up a Zestimate or a prop stream number or an estimated value in batch, right? We use these systems, right? And sometimes we'll take all these numbers and we'll average them together. And when we're making an offer to somebody, we're going to make the offer anywhere from 30% of that number to 70% of that number, right? Typically it averages out somewhere around 50 to 60%. In places that I don't want to drive to or go to or invest to, that number is low, guys. Cut that work out of my life, right? But if they're willing to do something at 30%, I'm gonna buy it, right? But if it's a good part of town, 60, 70%, maybe 50%, whatever, that's where I start. I don't even care what the repairs are. Because if I'm able to get them to agree to an anchored low number out the gate, or I'm in the ballpark, then it's worth the time to investigate to see if it's worth more. If someone's asking 80, 90 or 100% of a Zestimate, and I'm not saying those numbers are accurate, but they're great averages of what the square footage goes for in the area, guys.
Yep.
If they're at 80% of that number, I'm going to send an agent out. If they're at 70%, I'm going to look at it and maybe send the agent out. If they're at 50 or 60%, then I'm going to start looking and to doing more analysis, right? And the due diligence and using my MAO formula, starting with that ARV, figuring out the discount rate, and then subtracting out the repairs, right? So I think a lot of people, they overanalyze the fact that comping properties needs to be tough.
Yep.
Instead of spending a lot of time in analysis paralysis on that and never making offers, start making offers at 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. And here's why. If I make an offer, let's say a guy's got a house that's 200 grand and I make an offer 50 cents on the dollar, I make him $100,000 offer. And he says, well, I need to get at least 126 because that's what I owe the bank. Well, it's like, okay, cool. We're in the ballpark, right? But if I got a guy that it's the same scenario, it's 200 grand and, I make him this $100,000 offer and he says, I need to get 187. It's like this, there's no value there.
You kill the lead really quick.
There's no amount of convenience, Elliot, that I can give somebody to justify that discount being the same. That's all we really do as real estate investors and specifically wholesalers. But that's all we really do is help with liquidity problems. How do we do that? We offer convenience in exchange for a discount. It's that simple, folks. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Like, can you explain it in a better way?
No, I don't disagree with you at all. I think it varies a little bit by market. If I was making in my market, we would probably start out at like a 70% number because just the way the margins, because the higher price point market, you can go percentage wise because there's a lot more juice.
Do that. But what I'm not doing is trying to add repairs in either. Right. No, you have a $200,000 house that needs 40 grand worth of repairs. Well, I still got to get a discount on it. I'm gonna offer low. Yeah, if you want to offer 70%, great, but just make sure that you're factoring those repairs in at a later time. But the point of this conversation is don't overthink it. Start making offers low and anchor low. And if they're in that range and it's a little higher, but not crazy, then go look at it. Go talk to them. Yeah. Make them an offer. Get it in writing. And if they're off, and if they want to counter back at this estimate, move on. Yep. Right? You are going to make so much more time available and money by doing that, by moving on. So know this is a numbers game and know that you got to sometimes get to 2,000 or 3,000 leads before you find one that's good and ready to go.
Yeah, and especially if you're working a full-time job, you need to kill things. I always talk about, I want to kill a lead as fast as possible. I want to either
kill it. Right. So Elliot, on this topic, whenever I'm on the phone with people, I lead with this. Hey, I'm Dave. I'm calling from Household Easy. I'm calling about a property that I think you own. We got your information off our website or whatever it is, I just want to let you know that I don't pay retail, but I can close fast and I always pay cash. That's my pitch. I lead with the fact that I don't pay retail and I can close really fast and I always pay cash. That's it. I lead with that. So if they're looking for retail, I'm done. I'm disqualifying myself right off the bat. Hey, this may be a good deal for somebody, but it's not a good deal for me.
Yep.
So therefore I can't help you. Now I probably can, because I have an agent guy here, and I got a guy that does lease options here, and I got a guy that does sub twos here. And I'm just going to connect the dots and get a couple grand and move on and try to find the next rental, because that's the goal. Right.
Agree 100%. I have a very similar pitch, and I've timed it. It's about a minute and 30-second pitch. Or, I tell them, hey, can I tell you a little bit about how we work? And I kind of go, if your house is perfect, nice, and you want to get retail, we're not a good fit. If it needs work and you can sell at a discount, we're a great fit. And then you put yourself in whichever bucket. And if you're not in my bucket, then we'll push you somewhere else.
We'll try to help you. We'll try to help you.
Yeah, I'll try to
Absolutely.
help you. But here, I'm going to have this guy call you.
Yeah, but I don't want to go view it necessarily and waste my time, because when we run appointments, sometimes they take 10 minutes, sometimes they take an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the ones that you end up buying though. So another thing I want to also, kind of talk about too, which, you did a good job earlier of like, pulling out the average deal, but then again, the average cost of the deal, and then adding the overhead, which often is neglected, right? Also, I think what's really neglected is, the average deal for us takes 4 to 6 months from the time that they hit the CRM to the time that we can close.
Yep.
Now, this is also 6 years worth of data, folks. So I was telling my partners the other day, once we get to the 10-year mark, my partner at this point, once we get to the 10-year mark, wouldn't it make sense that the average time would be 7 or 8 months? And he was like, hopefully not that long, but yes, it should get longer, because we have more opportunity to work the leads that have been in there for 5 or 6 years or 7 or 10 years. And when they close, they kind of skew it back. So don't think that you're going to do marketing and go get a bunch of deals done in the next 30 days.
I love.
Instead, take the mindset that you're going to have to follow up with these people 10, 20, sometimes 40 times. I just sent over to my coaching group the other day, a video of me scrolling through my CRM of all the comments and tasks. And we had been following this one lead for 3 years. And I think I counted like 61 different times that we had followed up with them. And we got the deal done 3 years later, right? So the average deal is going to take you 4 to 6 months on average, right? Of course, there's going to be these low-hanging fruit that you send a postcard to and you buy it in a week, right? I get it, right? But on average, you have to work these leads, right? And that's also how you take your business from doing 2 or 3 deals a month to 10, is you get really good at the follow-up. Because every month you're going to be adding more and more leads to that follow-up. And I think right now we have like 6,000 or 7,000 leads in there. It's not even that many leads, guys. We'll skip trace that many in a week. Yeah. But those are leads that are worth following up with, either weekly, monthly, or quarterly. Sometimes we'll call somebody back in a year or two, but we make that note, we create that task. So Elliot, I love it. I say that I'm not passionate about it. I am passionate. I'm passionate about all things real estate, taxes, savings, wealth, you name it, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been talking a lot about how when we did this up until Corona year, I was able to run this business like a hobby. I'd be able to get low-hanging fruit, buy 20 to 25 deals a year, make 300,000 net at the end of the year. Everything was good. I golf all the time, work 10, 15 hours. This business is changing. It's going from the mom and pop down the street to we're turning into the Walmart, the juggernauts, the bigger guys that are operators, that you have to do what David just said. You have to do the follow-up. And like, I'm having to pivot in my own business to compete more and turn it into more of a business. And it's because this game's growing up. So you can do that solo or with a little, a team member or a VA or those things, and you can run it. You just got to run it like a business.
Yep, absolutely, man. I mean, there's more and more people getting educated on how easy it is to do this business, how you can flip houses with little to no money. Again, the time in the lead is the part that people leave out. And I lead with that as well. I don't want to disclose. I don't want people to think that they can jump in and flip houses with little to money. It's possible. And we do it every day. Elliot does it. I do it, but we also spend a lot of time and money working those leads, right? That actually flipping of the house is the easy part. The hard part's the lead, getting the person willing to sell you at a discount. And when you're wholesaling, you got to buy it great and sell it good.
Yep.
And you make the spread. But if you're not able to buy it at least good, you're not going to be able to sell it to anybody. So you got to get a really good deal on that, guys. Absolutely. Yeah. Elliot, I appreciate you having me, dude. This has been great. We obviously share a lot of similar things, with our mindset of business and entrepreneurship and marketing. So again, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about you?
Instagram, David Allen Dodge, DavidAlan Dodge, is a great place. And, I usually just push people to freewholesalecourse.com. It's a place where you can go learn all about wholesaling for free. It's about 3 to 4 hours of lessons and content there. And if you like it, then, obviously get started. It'll teach you how to do it. I've had people actually send me, messages saying that they got their first deal just from that free course. Now, they had a lot of hustle behind that, of course.
Yep.
But that's another great place to connect with me over there on freewholesalecourse.com.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time and all your wisdom. I love your passion. That's why I was super happy to have you on the show, because I follow you on Instagram and I'm like, this guy is excited. Excited about
life. Buddy. I got that energy.
Your wife handles it. How's your wife handle it with all the go passion all the time?
She's pretty energetic as well too. So we love it, man. It's great. You gotta have that good energy if you want people to follow, and if you want to be able to share value, that's another great tool. So, But again, thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful for your time, Elliot.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.